Jack lives in central Idaho, over 800 kilometers from Tom. Old Tom drove relentlessly, arriving at Jack's home one afternoon. He came not to visit family, but to hunt. Having not met for a year, the brothers reunited warmly. But circumstances left no time for catching up. Without even entering the house, Tom grabbed his tools and headed to the creek behind Jack's farm. True to Jack's word, the creek showed abundant signs of beavers gnawing branches. Moreover, Jack knew the exact location of beaver lodges. Just break the ice, set traps, and await the haul. This creek flowed through Jack's backyard, on his private land, so no one had trapped here before. In other words, these beavers theoretically belonged to Tom. If he could catch them, the lodge was here, their feeding spot over there. Tom would set traps between lodge and dining area. He needed to chop a large hole in the ice, place traps inside, so beavers heading to feed would get caught. The ice was now extremely thick. Breaking it wouldn't be easy. Taking turns swinging axes, the two old men failed to penetrate it. Even using an ice chisel proved futile. Half a day passed, with nothing accomplished. To avoid total failure, Tom resorted to his chainsaw. Theoretically, using a chainsaw for beaver trapping was unwise. Its noise would scare timid beavers. But given the ice's thickness, no alternative remained. So Jack brought the chainsaw and began cutting the ice. Progress seemed smooth. As horsepower increased, the chainsaw bit into the surface. Jack cut a square block. Upon completion, both men stared in dismay. The ice remained unbroken. Initial estimates suggested over half a meter of ice thickness. To remove the square, Tom had Jack add a diagonal cut across it with the chainsaw. Still useless. Traveling over 800 kilometers, spending so much, Tom came solely to turn his luck around here. Yet unexpectedly, he faced defeat. His disappointment must have been profound. This beaver site had to be abandoned. The brothers returned to Jack's house to plan their next move. Repeated failures mercilessly battered the old man. Yet confronted with despair, he showed no signs of retreat, instead constantly adapting his approach. Though not all choices were correct, he seemed to understand. Change brings success, success brings achievement. He'd focus on effort and leave the rest to fate. Have you seen a northern goshawk hunting a hare? Old hunter Tom, facing game scarcity, came to Idaho, hoping to catch a pile of beavers. But unexpectedly, the creek behind Jack's backyard was frozen nearly 1 meter deep. Setting traps was impossible. The beaver trapping ended in failure. After discussion, since high-altitude areas were severely frozen, the Snake River, at lower elevation, might still offer a chance. The Snake River is Idaho's largest river. Its fertile banks support vast groves of aspen trees, precisely what beavers love to eat. Not just beavers. This area teems with diverse wildlife, forming a thriving ecosystem. All these animals are potential catches for Tom. Among them, riverside minks are also prime targets for his trapping. Now at the Snake River, will he strike it rich and turn his luck around? Trapping minks requires fresh raw meat as bait. Buying bait goes against these hunters' principles. Tom planned to hunt his own. This is when Jack's secret weapon came into play. Jack is a falconer, usually training peregrine falcons or gerfalcons for hunting. But today, he brought a white northern goshawk. The northern goshawk is a medium-sized raptor with keen vision and skilled flight. Jack had trained this one into a proficient hare hunter. The local plains host numerous hares, exactly the brothers' target today. Jack placed the goshawk on his glove and walked into the grass. The goshawk instantly gave chase. Hares weren't hard to find. Soon, one darted right before his eyes. Jack released the goshawk immediately. It streaked toward the hare, but the hare couldn't outpace the goshawk. Caught quickly, capture seemed certain. Then the goshawk suddenly halted. Slow motion revealed. The hare kicked the goshawk with its hind legs. Just before capture, struck, the goshawk stopped and abandoned the chase. The first hare hunt today fell short. They still had chances. Tom remained confident. He believed before nightfall, the goshawk would succeed. The brothers continued tracking through the grass, hoping to flush another hare. Soon after, the goshawk suddenly launched from Jack's glove. After an intense pursuit, it landed, but neither hare nor hawk was visible. The old men hurried over. Arriving at the spot, they found the goshawk had successfully caught the hare, now devouring its meal. Jack called the goshawk back to his glove. Tom picked up the hare. It weighed over 5 pounds, enough for mink bait. Today's hunt succeeded splendidly, completed before dark. Now back to Jack's house. To prepare the hare as bait. The process is simple. Cut the rabbit meat into chunks. Discard the entrails. Starting tomorrow, Tom and Jack would head to the Snake River. After today's hunt, Tom felt his luck had turned. I too hope. He finds redemption at the Snake River. This season has been brutal for old Tom. Faced with hardship, he didn't flee, but confronted it bravely. Hope surfaced repeatedly, only to vanish, yet he forged ahead. Hardship isn't terrifying. What's terrifying is giving up too soon, only by facing it courageously. Can you succeed? Old hunter Tom, who makes a living by hunting, is officially beginning his challenge today at Idaho's Snake River to save himself from this dismal hunting season. He aims to catch beavers and minks here. Snake River gets its name from its snake-like shape, stretching 1,670 kilometers long. Its icy waters are filled with rapids, hiding dangers everywhere, yet its banks teem with wildlife, making it a coveted hunting ground. Wearing waterproof suits and unloading their canoe, the two elderly men enter the water. The initial stretch is calm with pleasant scenery, lifting their spirits. Unbeknownst to them, danger lies ahead. Today's mission is to scout the terrain and set experimental traps to test prey abundance in this area. After crossing the calm section, they encounter rapids. The fierce current rocks the already unstable canoe. Aged and less agile, the brothers struggle to keep control. A capsize would plunge them into bone-chilling icy water. Hypothermia could spell disaster. They understand these risks but press on for survival. Today's goal, in their words, is to make it out alive. Sometimes, courage is forced upon us by circumstance. Past the rapids, the river calms again. Here, they search for beaver and mink signs to set traps. Snake River's turbulent flow differs entirely from Tom's usual hunting grounds in Montana, where beavers are caught in still lakes. Trapping here is harder, but abundant beavers compensate. Soon, they spot their first beaver lodge dam being the unmistakable sign. Tom sets a trap at the entrance to capture exiting beavers. With brother Jack's help, the setup is easier. They anchor a standard large trap with 2 wooden stakes driven into the mud. After setting the first trap, they move to the next location. Heavy snow complicates their task, but Tom pushes forward. Time is running out this season. Beaver signs abound along Snake River. They quickly find a second site, littered with gnawed saplings, indicating a feeding zone. Here, they deploy a standard leg-hold trap with a unique setup. Tom secures it to a steel wire, anchoring one end to shore with an iron stake and the other to a bag of stones in deep water. When triggered, the beaver will dive deeper to escape but drowns underwater due to a lock mechanism, preventing predators from damaging its pelt. The brothers press on. Tom sets a mink trap using yesterday's rabbit meat. Unlike beavers, minks spend most time on land, so traps are set ashore. The device resembles a pine marten trap but uses rabbit bait. To prevent Idaho's fierce winds from dislodging it, Tom weights the trap with stones. After completing their setup, the brothers turn the canoe back toward their truck. Though fraught with hardship and danger, Tom finds profound fulfillment in this life to him. This is living. They will return tomorrow. What do you think? Will Tom turn his luck around on Snake River? Hunter Tom, facing an unprecedented prey shortage, came to Idaho to join his brother Jack. Just yesterday, the two of them set test traps along the perilous Snake River. Today is the day to check their harvest. The brothers arrived at their destination early in the morning and set off again by canoe towards the area where they placed the traps. These test traps will help Tom identify the best hunting spots in this region. With only 6 weeks left before the hunting season ends, if Tom fails again today, he doesn't know where to turn. This trip has cost him a significant amount of money. Without a catch, he wouldn't know how to face his wife back home. The brothers drifted downstream and soon reached the first trap set yesterday. They jumped into the water, pulled up the trap, and found it had been triggered but was empty. It's highly unlikely for an animal to swim through such a trap, trigger it, and escape unharmed. In decades of hunting, Tom had rarely encountered this situation. Though strange, he couldn't linger. There were several more traps waiting. After resetting it, Tom hurried away. They soon arrived at the second trap, only to find the same situation, the trap triggered, yet empty. One such trap might be explainable, but two in a row was truly baffling. Moving on, at the third trap of the day, they finally encountered a long-awaited catch. A beaver weighing over 10 kilograms was trapped. This was Tom's first harvest since arriving in Idaho and the first beaver of this hunting season. Old Tom was probably overjoyed to tears. This thrill of success might be the main reason he chose this line of work. The inspection was just beginning. They still had several more traps to check. Could this mark a turning point for Tom? Though elated by the single beaver, it was far from enough to salvage the dismal hunting season. The brothers moved to the mink trap set yesterday. Tom spotted the large trapped mink from a distance, suggesting the wild rabbit bait had worked perfectly. In his decades of hunting, this was the largest mink Tom had ever caught. Nothing this big had ever been found in Buffalo Valley. Apparently, the resources here along the Snake River were better. Combined, the beaver and mink could fetch about $400 at current market prices. This was Tom's highest earning day since the season began. But reversing the season's slump couldn't hinge on one day alone. Future weeks' income would determine that. To boost earnings, the brothers planned to set more traps in this area for maximum profit. The future remained uncertain. All Tom could do now was hold on to hope and continue forging ahead. Several prairie dogs had been living on Jack's ranch. Apart from grazing on some pasture grass, they hadn't caused much damage. Then one day, an American badger arrived. It hunted the prairie dogs across the pasture and ate them as food. Prairie dogs typically dig underground burrows for shelter and protection from predators. To catch them, the badger had to enlarge the holes to fit inside. This digging behavior angered ranch owner Jack. The area was where Jack's horses grazed and roamed freely. If a horse accidentally stepped into one of these holes while running, it could suffer anything from a sprain to a broken leg, causing Jack significant losses. Jack had long wanted to eliminate the badger but lacked the expertise. When trapping expert Tom visited during a 2-day break from Snake River, Jack asked for his help. Days earlier, Tom had earned $400 in a single day at Snake River. After setting more traps there to check later, he used this break to help Jack. Early one morning, they went to the pasture. Fresh snow made the badger's digging mounds clearly visible from afar. Jack used this opportunity to learn trapping. Not every hole contained a badger. They needed to identify active burrows. Tom examined tracks. If snow remained at an entrance with no belly, tail drag marks, the hole was empty. They found a freshly dug, dry entrance, unlike the damp surroundings. Perfect for their first snare trap. Tom demonstrated the simple but effective steel wire snare secured to an iron stake. They set several more traps before returning. Next morning, Tom checked each hole. The first two were empty, but near the third trap lay the motionless badger, caught by the neck while entering. This was only Tom's fourth badger catch in decades of trapping. Returning to Jack's house, both were pleased. Tom gained extra income beyond beaver pelts, and Jack's ranch was safe. Normally, a badger pelt sells for $25, but Tom's expert skinning, preserving claws that buyers prefer, could fetch $150, a several-fold increase. This success gave Tom confidence to face future challenges. On the banks of Idaho's Snake River, hunters Tom and Jack were conducting a new round of checks on previously set traps. Tom had been in Idaho for 4 weeks now, earning $550. After the trapping season ended, he would rely on money from selling pelts to support himself for the second half of the year until the new trapping season arrived. Since their fortunes began turning around at Snake River, Tom and Jack had pressed their advantage, establishing a nearly 20-kilometer trapping line along the riverbank. If all went well, Tom could inspect and reset 18 traps in a single day. With only 20 days left in the trapping season, Tom had to work tirelessly around the clock to earn enough money during this period. Numerous dams built upstream on the Snake River caused its water levels to fluctuate wildly. Just days ago, The area was filled with rushing rapids and treacherous currents, but today large stretches of riverbed lay exposed. Even lightweight canoes couldn't pass. Where navigation by canoe was impossible, the two brothers had to carry their canoe to continue forward. These men, their ages combined well over 100, found even boarding and disembarking strenuous, let alone carrying the canoe. Yet for survival, they gritted their teeth and pushed ahead despite the hardships. Truthfully, we're all like them in life, toiling for our livelihoods. When facing difficulties, who doesn't just brace themselves and push through? Carrying the canoe consumed vast amounts of Tom's precious time. With the trapping season growing ever shorter, Tom grew deeply concerned. The relentless stream of obstacles and setbacks felt crushing. Yet, Tom never spoke of giving up. To him, this life was perhaps even more important than his own life. Along the way, the brothers dragged and carried their boat, only riding in it where the water was deep enough. They clung to the hope that the main downstream channel would have sufficient water volume. After advancing 8 kilometers this way, taking over 2 hours, they hadn't checked a single trap. Finally crossing the tributary, they reached the main channel. Fortunately, while water levels here had also dropped, it didn't hinder navigation at all. Following the river, they arrived at the first trap. Still using the trusted method, the trap had been triggered, but caught nothing. Tom speculated a beaver had stepped on the trap, but luckily broke free. Though no catch, this was a positive sign. It meant beavers were present, and the trap placement was correct. By resetting it, Tom believed they would succeed next time. Continuing onward, they reached the second trap by memory. Unexpectedly, it mirrored the first, triggered yet empty. Was this due to highly intelligent beavers, or a merciful trap seeking redemption? Old Tom felt his resolve crumbling slightly. But this was only the beginning of the checks. Many traps remained. Surely they couldn't all be like this? A turnaround seemed elusive. Half the route was now covered, yet only several empty traps had been found. Tom's heart churned with mixed feelings. Moving further ahead, as he looked at the trap before him, Tom suddenly grew excited. He seemed to have discovered something. At last, this trap held a beaver. Approaching the spot, Tom instantly knew they'd gotten a catch. All earlier frustrations vanished in an instant. A large brown beaver, weighing over 18 kilograms, was in excellent condition. Tom planned to tan it into a rug. From this point on, Tom's luck turned. At the next trap, Tom secured another catch. Truly, when mountains and rivers block your path, a village appears beyond shaded willows and bright flowers. The feeling of fortune reversing was wonderful. A second beaver appeared, followed by a third. The fourth catch was a mink. Moreover, numerous tracks of other minks surrounded the trap, indicating significant mink activity nearby. Tom had never seen so many tracks before, proof of Snake River's abundant game. Seeing Tom achieve such results, Jack's anxiety for him finally eased. After hours of hard labor, the two brothers finally reaped their reward. 6 beavers and 1 mink, Tom's most productive day of the season. At current market prices, that day's earnings amounted to approximately $2,000, truly enviable income. If every day for the remaining 20 days went like this, Tom would make a fortune. After continuous, demanding work, the brothers were exhausted. Tom found a spot to rest, eat some jerky, and drink water. Trapping was essentially a high-stakes gamble. When Tom first arrived in Idaho, he didn't know if he'd catch any beavers. Having achieved these results, he felt quite satisfied. Opportunities for the brothers to hunt together were rare. This experience would become a lifelong memory. As the saying goes, when brothers unite, their strength prevails. On the beautiful, bountiful Snake River, Tom's trapping endeavors would continue. They hoped to successfully resolve this season's prey shortage before the trapping season ended. Hunters Tom and Jack finally achieved a stage of success in Idaho, with their single-day peak earnings exceeding $2,000. To capitalize on this momentum, the brothers returned to Snake River 1 week later, hoping to replicate their previous success. But life is full of unpredictabilities. This year brought an early spring. Temperatures rose sharply, causing rapid melting of snowpack in high-altitude areas. All this meltwater flowed into Snake River, causing water levels to surge suddenly and currents to accelerate dramatically. Under these conditions, launching canoes safely became impossible. The brothers could only inspect traps on foot. They walked a long distance just to find a branch of the river channel with slower currents for crossing. This detour added significant extra walking. Their previously set traps, scoured by the river, were now submerged underwater. Trap boxes for minks become completely ineffective if soaked, and beaver traps in such fierce currents wouldn't catch prey either. By the time the swollen river returned to normal, the trapping season would be long over. All this pointed to one conclusion: Snake River's trapping potential was finished. Today's task shifted from inspecting traps to retrieving them. Just as trapping showed promise, Old Tom suffered another crushing blow. Remember the frozen creek behind Jack's house when Tom first arrived in Idaho? Back then, the ice layer was nearly 1 meter thick. With rising temperatures, it should have thawed. This was Tom's last hope in Idaho. When the brothers rushed to the creek, they nearly choked with frustration. The creek's current was even fiercer than Snake River's, making it impossible to set beaver traps. Tom's devastation doubled. With this, all Tom's hopes for Idaho vanished. Since trapping in Idaho was no longer feasible, Tom needed to hurry back to Yak Valley. There, Nancy lived alone and maintained a daily patrol of a trapping line. After bidding farewell to his brother, Jack uncertain when they might meet again, Tom accepted that all gatherings must end. They parted with mutual well wishes, hoping for a future reunion. After leaving Jack, Tom began his journey home, heartsick yet heavy-hearted. After all, earnings from this trip were disappointing. He missed Nancy but didn't know how to face her. 2 months later, Tom arrived home. Snow covered the ground when he left. Now green grass spread everywhere. Clearly, not only Idaho but even his own home territory was no longer suitable for trapping. From this moment, this trapping season officially ended. The elderly couple reunited at last, the longest separation in their 40-year marriage. After a brief, joyful reunion, Tom showed Nancy his Idaho harvest. It was meager, insufficient even for basic subsistence. But home is always a warm harbor. Nancy didn't blame him. Instead, she offered encouragement. Yet Tom felt indescribable anguish. A man must always shoulder the responsibility of providing for his family. Nancy's traps hadn't fared well either. During Tom's 2-month absence, she earned only $400. Their combined income still fell far short of a profitable season. This hardship wasn't unique to this year. Living at the mercy of weather defined these hunters' reality. Even in good years, they never earned much. One might wonder, how much longer could Tom endure this life? Only he knows the answer. In Montana's Yak Valley, Uncle Tom's trapping season experience was quite complicated to summarize. No matter what he tried, nothing went smoothly. At the start of this trapping season, he consistently failed to catch any prey. When he tried changing locations, someone else seized his territory. Returning to the mountains to trap martens, he often came back empty-handed. When visiting his brother Jack to trap beavers, the creek behind the house was frozen nearly 1 meter deep. Just when things improved at Snake River, the water level suddenly surged, submerging all traps. Ultimately, he had no choice but to drive home dejectedly. Fortunately, he had a wife like Nancy, otherwise returning empty-handed would have caused major arguments. Back home, Tom calculated the season's approximate earnings. At best, he made just over $8,000. After expenses, not only did he fail to profit, but he also lost his original investment. This year, they might have to dine on the northwest wind to scrape by. Tom couldn't just wait around drinking the northwest wind. He contacted his good friend Tim for one last gamble to offset the year's financial losses. It was now Montana's black bear hunting season. They drove to the area with the highest chances of success. Bears had just emerged from hibernation. Their stomachs shrunk to fist-sized. Their first priority was eating grass, which aided digestive recovery and provided their only steady nutrition source. Tom planned to find an open area with ample grassland to attract bear ideal for observation and hunting. Given the vast terrain, they prioritized south-facing slopes where grass grew fastest. Both carried single-shot rifles for protection, requiring constant vigilance to avoid life-threatening encounters. Male black bears weigh 6,272 kilograms. Females weigh 4,150 kilograms. Threatened males charge at full speed, endangering hunters. Yet Tom targeted males specifically for their larger, more valuable pelts. Boldness reaps rewards for survival. Tom summoned every ounce of courage to hunt these high-risk animals. Were they fearless? Of course not. Their courage stemmed from life's relentless hardships, fueling desperate resolve. Finding bears wasn't overly difficult, but locating a large, suitable male required luck, something Tom sorely lacked. After extensive searching, they found no sign of black bears, let alone big males. Much later, they fortunately discovered bear claw marks on a tree territorial signs, indicating long-term occupation. This bear likely hibernated nearby and now grazed here. The situation improved, but they still needed to find it. Continuing onward, they found fresh, copious bear scat. Experience suggested a large size meant more food intake and waste. The bear was likely nearby. Tension spiked instantly. They checked ammunition, loaded rounds, and prepared for sudden danger while searching for its location. If the bear spotted them first, they could become prey. Suddenly, an unusual noise froze the air. They barely dared to breathe. It turned out to be a deer. In such moments, false alarms were normal. Pressing forward, they discovered bear tracks, but not black bear. These belonged to the far more dangerous grizzly bear, their worst-case scenario. Male grizzlies weigh 545 kilograms. Females reach 250 kilograms. They're the forest's deadliest predators. A mother with cubs would attack within seconds, ending tragically. While black bears posed high risks, grizzlies were worse and illegal to hunt locally. Seeing one meant detouring. Tom and Tim decided to leave immediately, heading 3 miles west to safer grounds. Their goal was one black bear pelt getting written off. Here wasn't worth it. After investing so much time tracking this black bear, the grizzly's appearance dimmed their hopes further. As dusk approached with no success, Tom recalled a frequent bear area, offering better odds. Though an excellent hunting ground with open sight lines, no black bear appeared despite their weight. With 40 minutes until dark, they had to evacuate the dangerous forest immediately. This sad tale ended with Tom missing his final chance. The bear season was over. During this brutal trapping season, Uncle Tom not only earned nothing but also lost capital, threatening his survival. Despair, frustration, and grief overwhelmed him, his hardest year ever as a hunter. That winter, he exhausted every money-making effort, tirelessly maintaining dual trap lines across locations, even leaving home for distant Idaho, his first such trip in decades, seeking better opportunities. Despite immense effort, he still lost $2,000 by season's end. As a last resort, he parted with a prized possession, a North American gray wolf pelt. Wolves are America's hardest animals to hunt, smart, cunning, and trap-resistant. Though just one, it was Tom's finest trophy. He'd planned to keep it forever, but this year forced his hand. Even selling the wolf pelt couldn't turn a profit. It barely balanced expenses. He and Nancy would now live frugally until next hunting season. Poverty tests heroes. 2 consecutive years of dwindling returns weighed on Tom, worsening annually. Most would break under this strain, but hunting is Tom's passion and lifeline. He refuses to quit. As he says, "As long as I live, I'll remain in this wilderness." May next season bring Tom better fortune and renewed success.